Today's business news. First up, foreign investors are heading for the exits and the numbers are staggering. Foreign portfolio investors sold 62,853 crore rupees worth of Indian equities in just the first half of June. That pushes total outflows for 2026 to 2.87 lakh crore rupees, already far above everything they sold in all of last year. March was the worst month, with a record outflow of 1.17 lakh crore rupees. And the pain isn't just in stocks. The rupee has fallen nearly 6% this year and around 10% over the last 12 months against the US dollar. Next, a war thousands of kilometers away could delay the keys to 500,000 Indian homes. Property consultancy Anurag warns that a record 5.4 lakh homes scheduled for delivery this year are now under pressure. The reason? The conflict in West Asia threatens to disrupt supply chains, push up commodity prices, and raise logistics costs, squeezing developers right at the finish line. The Mumbai region and Pune alone accounts for 57% of this year's planned deliveries. And history is a warning. Back in 2020, 4.66 lakh homes were due, but only 2.14 lakh were actually delivered, an execution rate of just 46%. Now to your dinner plate, because the cost of growing food just jumped sharply. Global urea prices have soared roughly 141% over the past year, from $392 a ton to $947. The trigger is the same West Asia conflict. It spiked natural gas prices, a key input for urea, and disrupted shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, which handles about a third of the world's fertilizer trade. So what does all this mean for prices in the shops? Here's the latest inflation read. India's retail inflation rose to 3.9% in May, the highest in 16 months, but still just below the Reserve Bank's 4% target and below what markets had feared. The sting was in the kitchen. Food inflation climbed to 4.8% as the Middle East war lifted energy and fertilizer costs. And as the war reshapes energy flows, India is quietly buying more Russian oil than it has in months. India's imports of Russian crude hit a 10-month high in May. Russian volumes jumped 21% month-on-month, outpacing overall crude import growth of 8%. In other words, even as total buying rose, Russia grabbed a bigger slice of the pie. Switching gears to tech, and India's smartphone market just had its weakest quarter in 6 years. Shipments fell 4.1% to 31 million units in the first quarter, the weakest quarter in 6 years. Noveling? A sharp rise in memory chip prices, which pushed up device costs and made budget buyers hold off. The sub-$100 segment collapsed by 59%. Apple's big India bet just hit a regulatory wall. The Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board has warned Tata Electronics that its iPhone components plant in Hajur could be shut down. Inspectors found the factory discharged wastewater into a harvesting pond that overflowed, contaminating groundwater in neighboring farmland wells. It's a headache for Apple. Tata is its second biggest supplier in South Asia after Foxconn. Another Tata company is feeling the squeeze as Indians keep cutting the cord. Tata Play's net loss widened to 551 crore rupees in the financial year as revenue dropped 13.5%. The culprit is a slow-motion collapse in pay TV. India's DTH subscriber base has shrunk to 51 million, down from 62 million just 2 years ago as viewers move to streaming. But here's a story that could change what goes into your fuel tank and cut India's massive oil bill. Minister Nitin Gadkari has signed off on the regulatory framework legally authorizing 100% ethanol fuel, E100. The prize is enormous. India's annual fossil fuel import bill is around 22 lakh crore rupees, and ethanol offers a homegrown alternative. Maruti, Toyota, Hyundai, and Hero are already lining up flex fuel vehicles. And now, the story that has Wall Street and Silicon Valley buzzing, the biggest debut in market history. SpaceX shares jumped more than 19% on their Nasdaq debut, lifting the rocket company to a market value of about $2.1 trillion. That instantly makes it the 6th most valuable company in the United States, closing in on Amazon. The IPO raised $75 billion, the largest on record. The debut also minted around 4,400 new millionaires among current and former SpaceX employees. Elon Musk reminded everyone that in the early days he gave the company less than a 10% chance of surviving. Today it employs 22,000 people, and thousands of them just woke up rich. And the ripple effects are huge. A Tesla-SpaceX merger is now openly discussed. SpaceX President Gwynne Shotwell calls it a genuine possibility, and one analyst puts the odds at 80 to 90% by 2027. Even Google is a winner. Its old $500 million bet from 2015 is now a roughly 5% stake worth about $100 billion. The race for artificial intelligence is now a full-blown geopolitical battle. Washington has moved to close a loophole that let advanced AI chips reach overseas subsidiaries of Chinese firms. The new rule applies licensing requirements to any company whose parent is headquartered in China. But here's the twist. Despite years of curbs, China's AI labs remain fiercely competitive. DeepSeek built a best-in-class open model using chips stockpiled before the controls. And Europe wants in on the AI gold rush with a record raise of its own. France's Mistral AI is in talks to raise about $3.5 billion at a valuation near $23 billion, almost double its value from last September. Mistral is Europe's great hope to challenge the American giants, taking a more open approach with open-weight models. Still, it has raised only about $4 billion total, a fraction of OpenAI or Anthropic. Now a quick roundup from India's startup world: deals, relief, and a courtroom reprieve. Meesho is buying B2B platform Kirana Club for 202 crore rupees, pushing deeper into India's $650 billion grocery market. Kirana Club connects neighborhood stores with brands across smaller towns and rural India and will keep running independently within the Meesho group. And there's relief for Biju Ravindran. The Singapore High Court has stayed a contempt order against the embattled edtech founder, pausing a 6-month jail sentence while he appeals. His lawyers stress no arrest warrant was ever issued. It's a rare bit of breathing room in a long, painful saga. And finally, a new format is exploding across Indian phones, and it's already 100 million strong. Jio Hotstar's microdrama service, Tata, has crossed 100 million users barely 2 months after launch. These are vertical, 30 to 60-second episodes, built for the phone. Daily watch time per viewer has grown 5-fold, and viewers under 24 make up over 42% of the audience. That's your business brief for today. Foreign money is fleeing, a distant war is rattling homes, fuel, and fertilizer, while SpaceX rewrites the record books and India's startups keep hustling. If this helped you make sense of the day, subscribe and stay sharp. We'll see you tomorrow.